And I welcome a couple of minutes late tonight, but we are back with you on a Thursday night. Orange and Blue Bloods on the Buddy Martin Show. Glad to be with you. We're tinkering with some new gear tonight. Same old guys, trying new stuff. Buddy Martin Show is brought to you by our fine sponsors, all three of them, which I'd like to mention each night. As we go through this, Meldenol, first of all, remember them, and Titan MRI, and our fine friends at WinStar. So coming up tonight, it's Orange and Blue Bloods, Thursday. Thanks for joining us on the program. We're coming to you right now in this temporary studio. Let me emphasize, this is a beautiful place. It's just not a TV studio, and we're working on week 4 or 5 of it. We hope to have in a couple of weeks other things for you here on the program, and we appreciate you following us all the way. Stand by. The Buddy Martin Show. It's about to be on the air right here on this channel.
Time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
What if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye!
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Evening, welcome to the Buddy Martin Show on a Thursday night. Yeah, I forget sometimes, so we do a lot of shows here. And glad to be doing with you, our executive producer, on loan to the boys at SEC Sidelines. Doing a great job, Brendan Martin, along with Rob Brown, and we're kind of in and out, back and forth, but we're here in our beautiful studio, our beautiful place. Studio is shaping up, and if you look out that window, you see St. Andrews Bay. What a beautiful place it is here, just south of Panama City. It's really in a place called St. Andrew, but it's Panama City. And we've been here now since we got married, and we're loving it. And a lot of nice people, including David Arnold. He's right there leading off tonight. Hello, David. Thanks for all your help and for making us feel welcome here. It's been an interesting experiment. And I went to another doctor yesterday and had a little checkup, and he's a Gator fan. So there are Gator fans up here amongst the Seminoles, but we'll find you. Hope you'll find us at some point. So tonight in the program, as soon as we get a hold of Ben, I know, Brendan, I'm going all the way up here, but as loud as I can go. This is the new equipment. This is what happens when you get the new equipment. It doesn't quite match everything you want to do. We'll have our new studio here in a matter of a couple of weeks, and we apologize for being not loud or too loud or whatever, because this is all new stuff here, and we're breaking it in. Anyway, thank you to David Darnall for helping us be welcome. Good evening to you, Mark, and good evening to you, Marcus Martin. Join the program tonight. We're going to be talking momentarily to Ben Troupe, hopefully, if he hadn't gone back to sleep. Franz Beard has a lot to talk about tonight because this basketball team is really getting interesting. We talked about it a lot the last couple of days and nights. And as I said in my intro earlier, I don't know if it made it or not, this is March Madness in more than one way. It's March Madness in football because what happens on March 7th is spring football. And as my late friend used to say back in the day, Jones Ramsey at Texas. In Texas, we have two sports, football and spring football. Well, it's not like that anymore around here because there's a lot of basketball being played here. And a really interesting and fun team to watch. Talking last night with our friends, Alec Pete Wilbur was here, Scott Carter. We're talking about how much fun the basketball team is to follow. And it does take your mind over some of the problems that we have. Hold on, Loren, I'll give you the time. Loren Meadows checking in saying, what time? Same time every week, brother. Be glad to talk to you. All right, Loren Meadows will be along shortly. And so, anyway, this is what's happening tonight. It's live. It's what we do here now. And anything and everything can happen. including the lights going out. We don't know what's going to happen next. But it's good. It's fine. Good to be with you tonight. And as we tee up our guest tonight, get ready for our friends. And maybe Brendan Martin might be out there someplace too. He's producing so many shows, doing a great job over there for the folks at the SEC sidelines, Rob Brown and the team. And if you haven't caught the program, I think it's on 7 Central Time now. I think the time on the program now is 9 a.m. Eastern, I believe. I think that's right. So catch those guys in the morning. They're on 6 days a week. I thought I was working hard before. So anyway, tonight on the program, we'll tackle some of the subjects. We got into a topic the other day that I've kind of liked. We've kind of had the life drained out of us about all this NIL stuff and the money talk and the issues, and it's been really tough for the true blue fans. And we want this always to be about the hardcore fans and the love of the game. And in my preparatory remarks tonight, in my notes, I put down in there, what is it about it? What have we lost here? Has it been, how dear has it been to us to lose it? As I said, tomorrow's March. Around here, madness isn't just in basketball. Spring football starts March 7th. What are your expectations? Well, we talked about them last night, and you can't always translate it to money or even for that matter to wins and losses. So we asked the question last night, and we'll continue to ask you guys. Thanks, and tell your friends and neighbors we are on the air here. Some of you are still looking for us on Facebook. You won't find us on there. We're just on YouTube now. And the expectations are obviously to improve, and I think Billy Napier's done that. And last night in our report card, myself and Allie and Scott gave him pretty good marks for making changes and moves. To what degree, we don't know. But, just for a moment, we stopped and said, I'll ask you the question. When did you fall in love with sports? How old were you, and what made you, and who made you, and what happened? Because Allie Pete Wilbur talked last night about how fact she was a young girl in 1996 when these Gators won the national championship. Now, Allie's a 4-time legacy. She's got her dad and her granddad and her brother and sister and mom and dad. Everybody played for the Gators. And Allie was fascinating. I think she was about 12 or 13. And she followed that Gator team in 96, the national championship team. And she was so crazy about it that she actually had clippings all over her walls. I remember my daughter Rebecca having pictures of Michael Jordan because he was such a phenomenal athlete in those days. But Allie had clippings about the 96 Gators. Yes, even some of mine were on her wall, and she read them back then. And so she fell in love with the Gator team and with the Gator football, the sport. And there are still people out there who feel that way about it. I know it's a little hard, but you can still love your team. And what made me think about it was, I mentioned this on the show a couple of times, was that we were able to see a video here just a couple of days ago on baseball. There's something kind of romantic about baseball. And when you're a youngster, and back in the day when you, when you were young, when you tried to reach out to some teams, we didn't have a lot of stuff on TV then to talk about. There were no Gators every week and basketball games at night and so on and so forth. So we clung to everything we had at that point in time, and our heroes were all, mostly in my age group, in the old days, it was baseball, because baseball was the only organized sport that had broadcasts. So I started thinking about it last night, and again, I told my wife today about this. I remember the first time I really felt the inkling to want to be a part of a game. Do you remember yours? Yeah. I was, I know you were all much younger. And I was 8 or 9, and my dad's friend and his son were talking about going to see the ball game tomorrow and listening to the radio and listening to the Cardinals on the radio and trying to get, and I remember yearning to be able to be a part of that. If I could just go to the ballpark or go hear a broadcast with somebody, I wanted to know about sports. There was something exciting about it. And I never was able to crack that. I never got invited to listen to that radio. So when I was old enough, my dad had a Zenith radio about yay high with a big green eye where he used to listen to the World War II reports on it. And I learned to put an antenna up outside, up the Australian pine, where I could hear baseball games on KMOX. And KMOX is where I first got my taste of baseball and Harry Carey. And I became a big baseball fan then. in those days, even Ben Troupe was a bit of a baseball fan. I know he's crowing today because his Bravos got lucky in a game today against the Rays, and a meaningless game, and managed to get eke past them. But my man Ben is here. Let's go to the Orange and Blue Room and talk to our friend about the passions of youth. When you really loved sports, when did you first fall in love with the Ben Troupe? When was it for you? Good evening to you.
Am I there?
You're here.
There I am. There I am.
You're here.
Nah, I mean, when you saying when did I first fall in love with?
Yeah, when
sport?
you, I don't know if you grew up with it or not, if you had brothers and sisters, but I didn't really get introduced to it until I was 8 or 9. And some people I looked up to were big baseball fans, and I wanted to know more about it. And my friend down the street, older, he would take me out and throw the ball around the backyard. But something about it at baseball those days, so we didn't look. The NFL wasn't that big a deal in my time, or the NBA. Baseball was it. Now, I'm sure it was different for you when you came along 100 years later, but do you remember the person that struck the chord with you, made you feel like this is something special?
Oh, my grandfather, James Ellis Jr. He, growing up at my great grandmother's house, may God bless her soul. When the Braves used to play, he didn't. Two things. He didn't like when we talked. My granddaddy treated baseball like fishing. The only person who get excited is him. The umps were never, ever on the Brave side, but he would tell you why I should like Otis Nixon and Terry Pendleton and Sid Bream and Tom Glavine and John Smokes and David and let's go. But the thing about it is buddy, he introduced me to baseball in a way to where it was so sacred to him. Like my grandfather he's up in heaven right now, getting ready for baseball season with all these he's saying, oh, these players now like the Tukey Toussaints and Austin Albee, all these guys. That video that you sent me, baseball is different because. Oh,
you watched it, huh?
Oh, I watched it, of course.
All right, I want to hear your take on that. I want you to describe it to our listeners. This is how I looked at that video. If I never saw baseball before, if I've never seen the game before, that would make me want to watch. Like, what is this? What is this? And they didn't make it about not one certain franchise or it was just moments. And the thing about baseball is that's what it is to me. It's about the moment. Mm-hmm. There's a moment when someone says, where were you when this happened? When Hank Aaron, broke the home run record. Right. Where were you when Cal Ripken Jr. had all those starts back to back to back? Where were you when, I don't know if it was Kurt Schilling that had the blood on his socks? It was Kurt Schilling. Kurt Schilling, yeah.
It's there are certain moments in baseball, buddy, that either you were watching it live, or you remember when it happened, or you heard about it. That baseball, when it first, that's when you had to read the newspaper. You had to listen to the news. You had to. So it's and the greatest thing about baseball is the fans. And I know we say it about every sport, but there are certain organizations, right? They've never been prestigious. They've never had World Series runs or these great, transcending teams, and yet you love them. So for me,
the Cubs all those years, the Cubs didn't had nothing.
Of course, I mean, buddy, the thing, and there's the regular season, which is glorious, but then there's the postseason, which is just standing room only. Mm-hmm. Because the thing about baseball is anything that can happen in sports can happen. You talk about a great reliever in Mariana. You're talking about one of the greatest shortstops ever, and Derek Jeter. You talking about them San Francisco teams that had Lynchcomb. You talk about the Tampa Bay Rays when they first came on the scene. That was people's like, hey man, this team was the team to reckon with. I mean, it's just too many. I just appreciate baseball because baseball is the one sport, buddy. We will argue about it from the past way more than the present. Somebody try to tell you your team ain't got no tradition. You go, what did you say? Or your team didn't have no great pitching or no great hit. So if you're not a baseball fan, you're doing yourself a disservice for this reason alone.
Yeah, that particular movie,
Oh my God!
Yeah, and there were moments in that movie. There's a compilation of a lot of great baseball films. League of Their Own, Natural, Field of Dreams, Major League. I mean, so many scenes. There were lines in there, and there's still lines. And this line didn't make it in, but this one still gives me cold chills. In The Natural, and Robert Redford, when he said, "God, I love baseball." It just gives you chills.
Listen, my kid movie was Angels in the Outfield.
Yeah.
Danny Glover. Mm-hmm. If you watch Major League, right? If you're watching the Indians, you're not. That's the Cleveland Indian fan base. Say we got ourselves a movie. Moneyball with the Oakland A's and Brad Pitt. It's buddy. Baseball is the one thing to where you could be in the supermarket, you could be having a meal with your lady, and somebody says something, and you just overhear you're not even in the conversation, and they say, "Oh man, baseball, it ain't what it used to be." You go, "It's not what it used to be, but it's still beautiful. It is a beautiful." That's
well put.
I get it. It's all about the long ball now. It's all about leaving the park and
chicks dig the ball, long ball, right?
The greatest spectacle, people say to me, what is the greatest spectacle in all of sports as far as all-stars? It's got to be the home run derby. It cannot get better than that.
I'm sorry to hear you say that. Because I've been to the All-Star game many years ago. I saw unbelievable things in Houston in the late 60s. I saw a rookie named Tom Seaver, go up to bat, go on the mound with the bases loaded, and the great Mickey Mantle was at bat. At the end of his end, he struck him out, and he struck him out at the end of the game, and they won the game. I think 1-0 on a stolen home by Willie Mays, and I mean, what a moment! And and after the thing was over, Hubert Maisel and I went down. Actually, Hubert got to quote, and they asked Tom Seaver, "What was it like for you, man? Here you were, the bases loaded in the All-Star game, and the Astrodome was brand new, and this kid goes out there, and the bases loaded, and the great Mickey Mantle's at bat." And Seaver said, "It was unbelievable." He says, "It was great." He says, "It was me, the rookie, against the great."
It's what legends are made.
Yeah,
it's where Cal Ripken Jr. and Sr., Ken Griffey Jr. and Sr. It's like Ken Griffey Jr., the most beautiful swing in baseball history, hands down.
I don't know. This guy here has a pretty good swing too. See him looking.
I'm telling you, buddy. When it comes to me and the Braves, my grandfather was sacred about certain things. He wasn't that big of a Hawks fan.
Yeah.
He wasn't that big of a Falcons fan. I'm a Falcons fan. That ain't even a real thing. Falcons fans, that's not real. But I am one. But when it came to the two things, when it came to the Braves and wrestling. When it came to wrestling, my grandfather didn't play, and I'm talking about when you knew all the wrestlers: Bret the Hitman Hart, Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, Elizabeth. I mean, you knew them all, right? I mean, but when it came to the Braves, when Otis Nixon, I don't know who the first person to ever catch a home run. I know who did it in Braves history. It was Otis Nixon. They showed that play for 10 years straight. It was a commercial. Otis Nixon did last summer was in Swainsboro, Georgia, my hometown. Listen to me, he was there. Signing autographs, giving out jerseys. So this is when I realized I'm no longer a young man. This is my no longer a young man moment. I'm out there with some youngins, and they don't know who they talking to. They say, "Who is that?" I go, "What did you?" Otis Nixon. I had to sit him down. I said, "Give me that jersey." You lost your mind. But at the same time, Otis Nixon said, "No, sir." He said, "It's fine. You don't got to grab me." I said, "I want to knock the hell out of them, but I can't because they ain't mine." But come on, man, baseball. Listen, I was in Atlanta one time, getting off an elevator in the hotel. Who gets on? John Smokes and his wife. They had on like all leather. I don't know where they were going. They had on like all leather. And I said what anybody would say. I said, "You John Smokes." To this day, I didn't introduce myself. I didn't ask how your wife doing. I was blown away. That is John Smokes right there. So I'm just saying, baseball still gets starstruck. Whoever your favorite baseball player is, dead or alive,
it's great.
If you met him in person, you're gonna fanboy him.
As a sport. However, there is one greater thing to Franz Beard. He lived for the orange and blue. He sold Coca-Colas at the field. He listened to the Gator fans moan and complain because they couldn't win and couldn't do anything. He grew up right there in Gainesville. He is a tried and true orange and blue member, I want you to know, Ben. And today, he don't have a lot to talk about in football just yet, but look at him smile about the basketball team. Look at him, big old grin breaking out, because he knows something's going on. Something's going on. Look at him. Look at him. He's grinning like a Cheshire cat right now.
Oh, jeez.
Is he frozen?
I
think he's frozen.
Listen, I know.
No wonder he's
have you had a chance to talk to Cags for the baseball team?
No, I have not. France probably has.
Nag Tani, I ain't had a chance to holler at him yet, either. But Coach Kevin O'Sullivan, he's done it all when it comes to baseball. He is one of the most decorated baseball coaches, in college baseball. But no, listen,
Franz is unfrozen. Look at him, he's laughing. Franz, let's see you smiling now about the basketball team.
Well, 20 wins, 10 in the SEC, and this is in year 2. I thought Todd made a good point last night. I asked him a question: are you farther along or than you anticipated at this point? And he pointed out, he said, it took Bruce Pearl 4 years to get to 20 wins and the NCAA at Auburn. Took Rick Barnes almost 5 years there at Tennessee. Calipari did it at Kentucky, but hey, Kentucky's Kentucky. Kentucky is always, I don't think people realize just the allure of Kentucky. Kentucky is always going to have great players. They're always going to have great fan support. They're always going to be different than anybody and everybody else. And there ain't a whole lot any of us can do about it.
Do you remember the first time you ever saw Kentucky play France?
Sure do. Cotton Nash in Florida Gym. And Florida beat Kentucky that night. Adolph Rupp came here with Cotton Nash and Larry Conley. Thad Jarris playing center for them. On their freshman team, they had this guy named Pat Riley and another one named Louis Dampier on that team. They became known as Rupp's Runts. They had Tommy Cron on that team. Not that I remember anything about it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm going to go back on you a little bit further, way back in the day when I was a little tank, and I came up to see the team play. There was the national champions here that year. They had a guy named Cliff Hagan who played center for them. He probably wasn't 6'4", 6'5". Shot a hook shot at the foul line and never messed his hair up. His hair was Jimmy Johnson-like. It never moved, whatever. They had a guy named Frank Ramsey who was a guard. Yeah. And they were still shooting two. Yeah, there were two. Well, he was the guy who shot the 200 set shot. He stood to the top of the circle out there with two hands, nothing but net. And the guy had a name Louis Serapis, who had like a size 19 foot, big, huge thing. And that team was so beautiful to watch. You knew, and Ben, you've seen these kind of teams. When they walk on the court, you knew they were somebody, friends. You knew, and they played like somebody.
Well, I have I've had the privilege of getting to know several Kentucky coaches through the years, players. The late Mike Pratt, God rest him, God rest his soul. What a wonderful guy. Got to know Kaywood Ledford, the greatest basketball play-by-play guy ever. Period.
And
Kaywood Ledford
Tubby, you knew Tubby, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kaywood Ledford was the Vin Scully of basketball, and that Vin Scully carried on a conversation, and he included you in the conversation. And there was a baseball game going on all the while, but he's carrying on the conversation with you and throwing in the fact that, it's like, it's a beautiful day here at Dodger Stadium. The sun's setting in purple and orange.
That was a foul tip
over the San Gabriel Mountains. That was strike 2.
Yeah.
Curveball over the outside corner. corner. Fans are having sushi down the third base
There
line.
you go.
Hey,
Pretty good,
we
Vince
do
Scully.
that.
Pretty good, Vince Scully. Now, before we get too far off the subject, let me bring it back in here just a minute to talk about the subject at hand on Orange and Blue Blood Thursday. Well, there are beloved guys who are Gator fans, but also in the media, cover the media, and don't mind telling it like it is. And as we sit here today on the last day of February 2024, we're looking at something called March Madness coming up. Tomorrow's March, okay? Except
Yes, it is.
for us, as exciting as Gator fans might be about basketball, it's still about football. And the spring game is coming up, what is it, 7th of April? And there's a lot has to happen between now and then. Just to shift gears, let me just get this spot on real fast. I want you and Ben to focus on this. We'll get to the basketball in a minute. Let's focus on football right now, this moment, because this is such a critical time for Gator football. We have no idea which way it's going to go. I want to know, not translating into W's and L's just yet, but what are your expectations about what is going on? Let's give Billy a report card for the changes he has made. He made a bunch of changes now. We talked about it last night, and say, okay, now, are we more hopeful now? Have we gotten enough on the special teams changes? Do we have enough for the OC? What have you? Think about it when I come back. I'll start with you first, Ben, then Franz. The expectations, what you think ought to be happening, what you're looking for in March Madness football version, okay? All right, stand by, folks. We'll be right back. Let's hear from our friends at Meldon Law. Jeffrey asked a lot of questions. I've got one for you right now, okay, regarding how do you know whether your case is being handled right and what to do about it? In medicine, you can get a second opinion if you're not satisfied with the doctor's opinion that they have. And do you have that in law? Can you do that with lawyers?
Yeah, buddy. As a matter of fact, we get quite a few calls from folks that have signed up, particularly with the big box law firms, that they do a hell of a good job of putting ads on TV, but after that, they don't really measure up to the way we try to create a client experience that's outstanding. And we're always willing to review a case and give a second opinion, just like with a doctor, because not all law firms are created equal.
I guess that's the normal thing. Just go to Meldon Law, Google it, and find out, and just give them a call. And like you say, if you come in, you get to see a Meldon. You don't get shuffled off to somebody else. You get to see a Meldon, and that's good to know, because a lot of people don't know how to do that stuff, like me, and maybe you can coach us through. So Meldon Law, they won't back down. They will take your questions about your case if you have a question.
Yes, whether it's a new case or an existing case, give us a call. We'd be glad to go over it with you. There's no charge to review your case with you. And a lot of times it makes good sense just to get a second opinion.
Good stuff from Meldon Law. They don't back down, but they will give you a second opinion. Hey, folks, all right, there it is. It's March. It's time to talk about March Madness, but before we talk about the basketball, football, all right? Ben Troupe, we talked about changes. You got changes. What have you seen so far? Has it been enough? And what is your expectations and feelings about the direction of this team on the last day of February 2024?
I think that Coach Billy Napier did what he had to do, especially I know that Coach Sale and Coach Callahan were co-offensive coordinators. I think to be able to have, even though he's going to be one calling the plays, I think he got tired of being able to answer those questions. I mean, I can appreciate what he's done. I can appreciate the fact that he addressed some of the things that he, hopefully got tired of answering those questions in these press conferences. And we'll see. We'll see how this – and the thing about we won't get a full understanding of what he's done until, it's live and real, come the fall. But there are things I think he did himself more harm than good sometimes in his offseason by making life harder on himself than he had to. You could have been at an OC, whether they were going to be co-OCs or not. There's nothing you can do about the strength and the conditioning coach, even though you've addressed that. There's nothing you can do about Coach Joe Ham that's going over to Texas A&M. But I think he's tried to address all these coaching situations head on. I'm just looking for stability at this point. When you're talking about the offseason, when it comes to Florida, there's been as much turnover as – it's been more turnover in the coaching staff as it's been with the players. it seems like. But I think he's got a handle on it. Hopefully every coach he has now wants to be here. Nobody's going to be going anywhere else until 2025 after the season. But I give him credit. We jumped all over him when he wasn't making these decisions, asking him what's taking him so long. He seems to have addressed it all. The coaches seem to want to be here. And, hey, man, but like I said, we'll see what happens in the spring. And I think the reason why you had to name an offensive coordinator seriously, whether it's Coach Sale and Coach Callahan, is the tight end position has, grown leaps and bounds in a couple of years. They reward Coach Callahan with that because he is a young coach. But there's a DJ Lagway who came here because you preached stability to him when you was going to his home of Texas. He hasn't. I mean, he's seeing some of it right now. But, perception is reality when it comes to football. And the perception that Florida was chaotic is looking a little more organized now. We'll see what happens when the spring kicks off.
Franz, too little too late? Or what do you think? Did he make the right kind of moves? Or do you think he could have made his OC has been move a little earlier since he knew it? What's your take on what's happened and what's happening and the trend they're going?
I think that he is addressing the future. I think I believe, and I've said this before, that he's good through after 2025, then he can really sweat. But I think that I've been told he's got this year. I've been told he's got next year too. They're going to give him a chance to have. They're not going to fire this guy with DJ Lag. After this year, if DJ Lagway coming up, no, that's not going to happen. They got Lagway and they got half this recruiting class because of Lagway, and they're not going to fire the guy that recruited these people. So you're going to give him an opportunity, and I think he's addressing the future. He brings in Callahan, Russ Callaway, to deal with the offense.
And now the guy from Arkansas.
Well, you look at what Russ has done. Russ has got air raid roots. He's with Chris Hatcher. Chris Hatcher was the original air raid quarterback for Hal Mumme at Valdosta State. And then Russ Callaway played quarterback for Chris Hatcher. Pretty good coach there. Goes to, so you've got, and you look at this. On the staff at the same time that Chris Hatcher was at Valdosta State, you had Mike Leach there, among other people. You look at who all was on that coaching staff and how this guy has evolved and shaped things. Now, what they run at Samford with Chris Hatcher has very, very strong air raid concepts to it. But it's got a great running game in it, which the regular air raid doesn't have. But this has a great running game into it. It has a running quarterback incorporated into it, which, gosh, DJ Lagway, gosh, the guy can run. How about that? What a concept, etc. Then you bring in Dan Enos. Now, you look at what Dan Enos did at Central Michigan. His quarterback was a guy named Dan Lefevre. Dan Lefevre, in his 4 years at quarterback at Central Michigan, accounted for 150 touchdowns and 15,000 yards of offense, almost 16,000. So you're addressing your quarterback and what your quarterback's got to have. I think he's done good moves with the defense. Everything I'm hearing is these guys are really, really enthused about what Ron Roberts is bringing to the table. So
when I asked the question, excuse me if I interrupted you, Franz, I just want to say this. We bring Loren in here. All of the moves that have been made, I'd like for you to assess which one was most important to you. I asked this last question last night, and Alec Pete Wilbur said the change in the strength and conditioning. That wouldn't have been one I would have thought, but you thought that was the biggest. So while you contemplate that, while I bring Loren Meadows in here, get him to weigh in and say good evening to Coach Meadows, and we'll see what his thoughts are. But first, real quick, give me a 30-second answer, Franz, and then Ben, biggest move, most significant move the Belgians made in the offseason?
Well, I would put the strength and conditioning up there as my 1A, but my number one was bringing in Ron Roberts because we've pointed out before they've scored points. They just haven't stopped people. Now you got somebody who can stop somebody.
Yeah, Ben, what do you think?
I mean, and Allie Wilbur, she does an incredible job. I might agree with Allie because the thing about it is if you knew you was going to hire in-house when it came to the offensive coordinator position, why did it take you so long to do that? If you knew you was going to go with Coach Callahan, but I think when the strength and conditioning coach, that is what makes the team. I mean, who was going to be the one getting them, getting their bodies right, getting their minds right week in and week out. So to be able to get somebody replaced really, really quickly and a favorite of the team. Because a lot of times too, as players, we thought we had some level of decision making, influence. I've grown to know we don't. But anytime you're trying to replace a strength coach, you don't just throw anybody out there. So I do agree with Allie. I think getting a new, getting a guy that was already on the staff, but is a highly respected by the players that's already there. That's huge because there are some strength coaches in college and in pros. They are not respected at all. And it shouldn't be that way. But, hey, man, I want to make sure you can, not just make me look the part. Can I be the part when it's time to be the part? So I think that might have been the biggest one because, like I said, I love the Callahan one, but it's like Callaway, but it's like you knew you were going to do in-house. What took so long? Like, what?
What
his
took
name?
so long? Yeah.
They ain't called the plays anyway.
Yeah.
His name.
Well, wait a minute. Now, see, I know Loren Meadows is going to say the new offensive coordinator decision will be his favorite because he knows that this new guy will be calling all the plays, right, Coach Meadows?
No, not at all. I'm gonna go with. I agree with my man Franz. Ron Roberts, I think, is going to really steady that defense, bring a certain level of efficacy to the defense, for lack of a better term.
Good word. I like that.
And I think that the game plan and being able to, which I think Austin Armstrong was on the right page. It's just like I said, I think there was a disconnect, but being able to stop the different types of offenses that you see in the SEC and the different ways that people try to attack you, I think that, and you see it a lot more in the SEC West where Roberts was coming from. So, I would say that Ron Roberts for sure is number one. And, I don't know about a 1A or a 2. I tend to kind of move away from. I do agree with Allie. That's who is with your team, and that's who you kind of give your team to in the off season and things like that. But I just harken back to the fact that Florida was about 3 stops away from winning 9 games. So, I think a little bit of the physical nature of the team is a little bit understated, and the fact that their heads didn't go where their feet. Their feet didn't go where their heads told them to go, kind of is my thing. So I think Ron Roberts is going to get them in the right position, get them lined up, get them adjusted, and I think it's really going to – it should pay dividends. I mean,
the way you guys all complained about the special teams earlier in the year, we all did about getting the wrong number of people on the field.
Yep.
Nobody's brought up the special teams change. Huh?
Well, that's an off the field. Who is the on the field – position, who is that person? And it's still that box.
Shane Matthews says it's not one. He says it's all 11. They're all coaching.
Well, yeah, it should be.
I don't buy that. I don't buy that. I'm sorry, because who's the greatest special teams coach in the history of Florida, Franz?
Ron Zook.
No. Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer.
Urban was, but I got to tell you what. Ron Zook, when he was there handling special teams for Florida from 90 to 93.
Yeah.
Florida's special teams was Shane Edge punting the football, and it didn't matter who we had place kicking because it was going through. We had a Lou Groza award winner there.
I kind of understand what you're saying, Franz, but really, the Urban Meyer lived in special teams. Yeah. He called himself the special teams coach.
But I think more important, though, is the fact that Urban held his assistants accountable for coaching special teams as well. And I think that's where Shane is going, is the fact that as a staff, the entire on the field coaching staff has to be they have to be invested in special teams. And you know as well as I do, buddy, that if you didn't coach your special teams position like you were coaching your other position, Urban wasn't having it. I mean, he held those assistants feet to the fire when they were coaching punt block and punt protection and all the things that go kickoff coverage. I mean, you know that. And that's what I think Shane is saying, is that the entire staff.
What Shane? Are you talking about Shane?
Yeah, what Shane.
Oh, Matthews. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. What Shane is saying is when you go special teams, which is a lot of times Wednesday and Thursday of the week, we got to be dialed in on special teams. And that's what Urban was able to do, is have the entire coaching staff feet to the fire when it
Well, he told me directly that he said, who else can get all the future number one draft choices to play on special teams? The head coach.
Yeah.
And that's the reason he took the job, because he knew. He said, I want you on special. And Franz, how many players do we know that have found a path through special teams to get on the field and end up being star players for the team?
I'll tell you one of the greatest stories of all with Florida football is David Nelson.
David Nelson's a primary guy. Yeah,
a 5-star recruit who was complaining that came to a coach and said, "Look, I can't get on the field." And Urban said, "If you want to get on the field, you better try special teams." A couple of weeks later, he's on special teams and he saves the LSU game by knocking the ball out of bounds on an onside kick. He had
touchdown
a
pass. He got a touchdown pass too. Remember the championship game?
Oh yeah, but David Nelson's path to the field was through special teams. Lewis Murphy, the same thing. He made Lewis Murphy became a special teams demon and then got on the field.
Ben, how was it with you, Ben? Excuse me. Were you asked to play special teams, or they expect you to volunteer? How did that work for you?
No, I mean when I my first 2 years, I mean that's the only way I got on the field when I was with Coach Spurrier. But with Zook, it was mandatory. Like my junior year when Zook first got there, I mean I'm on kickoff return, I'm on punt, and I think the thing about it is Ron Zook made you understand. He said, man, players don't take themselves out. He said, I don't know what this college thing is of, I start on one side of the ball, so I don't do this. Man, please. And listen, Ron Zook, a coach, listen, Ron Zook said, I should say it so much to you that you should be able to coach special teams by the end of the year. This is the head coach now. He didn't play. As the head coach, he didn't play by special teams. I played wing on punt. He says the only way you can get a punt block is if you chase somebody and you turn your shoulders. Listen, if you turn your shoulders and you chase, that's the only way they can block it. Every time it's a block, look at what happens. Somebody chased somebody, and he said they could put the whole world out there. If you come straight back, guess who was in front of me? Bobby McCray. So on the left side, you got the starting defensive end and the starting tight end right there. And at first, you thinking, you have this sense of entitlement of I'm a starter now, so get a second stringer. When Dan Mullen was going 9 to 10 wins, who was his gunners? Cleveland, Van Jefferson. That stuff matters because when you put your starters out there, right? They telling the backup players, you guys are being out. Forget your position for us. You getting outplayed on special teams by guys who are playing 50 and 60 snaps a game. So, I mean, I took pride in it. So when I get to the NFL and most guys being a second round pick, I thought that playing special teams was normal. I wasn't one of those dudes like, no, man, I'm starting. They announced me for the starters. I don't play. No, man, I'm a football player. Put me out there. I got knocked out in 2007 running down on the kickoff by the same player at the position I play on kickoff return because I'm looking too far down the field. The next thing you know, lights out. But I took pride in special teams. So for players who come to college who say, man, the only people who don't play special teams is quarterbacks. Period. That's it. If you don't play quarterback, You get your behind out.
Knocked out because you didn't backside evade like you're supposed to when you run down.
Let me tell you something. I remember
backside evasion, Ben.
All right, check this out, and to show you the nuances and the intricacies of special teams. I go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're running down the field, right? The Coach Pasaccia, he was a special teams coach for as long as John Gruden was in the NFL. He was with the Raiders. He was with the Bucks. He said, Troupe, if you're running down the field and the guy's blocking you, take off and go to the right, what you supposed to yell? I said, I wasn't supposed to yell nothing. He said, I want you to watch what happens when you don't yell nothing. I run out of the field, the guys run off. The guys to the right, I'm on the left side. The guys on the right side, they got wiped out. All of them. Because I didn't alert them. He said, that's how much you don't care about your teammates. By yelling in, he said, oh, so you so good at football, they're just running away from you? No, they finna go take your teammates out. So I'm just telling you, special teams, I can't remember the guy's name, Slater, that played for the New England Patriots. He just retired. He was a wide receiver, I think, out of like UCLA. He caught one pass his whole career, one or two. But he's like a 6 or 17 first team All-Pro. So I don't know where these guys get that from, man. I don't know where these guys get that I don't play special teams. I hated two things in Florida because I'm getting watched the most. I hated 2 minutes because Ron Zook is looking right at me, and I hated special teams, not because I didn't enjoy playing it. Ron Zook used to try to get, he said, Ben True, he said, I'm going to block a punt today. And sometimes he'll trick me. Sometimes he'll put 4 people on the outside of me, 3 people. But I'm telling you, once you get good at special teams, I tell people this. You want a head coach to trust you? Get a special team coach to talk to him about you. Special team coach say, hey, man, this boy can play. You got a shot of playing on the position you there to play. Because most guys, they ain't getting out there. It ain't their fault. But
the thing,
Lauren, you guys know, I just know this. At the end of the day, the only person to take back a punt return and a kick return against me during my career was Abney from Kentucky. But he's a first team All-American. He took one to the house. He took 2. He took a punt return and a kick return on it. We beat him, but it wasn't because of special teams that day. That was a hard meeting to go to, on that Monday.
He won, caught one, ran for one, and ran a punt back for one in the same game.
It's the
Ohio.
You better get your behind out there. Special team. Well, listen. When you get to the NFL, right? You know what you do to get on the field. If you can't get on the field, tell the special team coach, man, what you like for breakfast? You like donuts? You like
Ben? Yeah, but let me ask you: when you played for the Zooker, how hard was he on the assistants to coach special teams as well? He wasn't the only one coaching, right? And he was. Everybody got to be bought into special teams. Yes. Special teams are special.
He was. Special teams is near and dear to his heart because that's how he got a shot to actually go from Florida to the pros by how he coached special teams with that 96 team. Ron Zook helped you understand accountability before you even knew how to spell the word or what it meant. He made sure you knew you ain't good enough to just play one position. Really? He say, so we can only count on you depending on the number you were. So you just want to be out there with offenses out there. You don't want to make no tackles. You don't want to make no blocks for spring somebody on the kickoff return. I'm telling you, special teams to me is where you gain respect from your teammates. Because you do some grimy stuff out there. You do some stuff in special teams that guys be coming up to you saying they sorry. You see how helmets get all ugly and crazy. That happens on special teams. That do not happen on offensive defense unless you're a middle linebacker. When you see helmets all scratched up, somebody just got hit. Yeah. Somebody just had serious, do I really want to play football? So for me, my 4th year in the NFL, I played on all the special teams. I wasn't playing as much on offense. And I'm thinking, my role has diminished. And my coach was like, no, it has not. He said, think about this. You went from not starting on offense to being a starter on every special teams, right? He says, nobody starts on all special teams in the NFL. Nobody, unless you just so for those players who be thinking, mama, I came down here to catch passes or rush or I ain't coming down here to be on special teams. Andre Dubose, I beg to differ. That boy, that was, oh my God. Our special teams were so good at Florida that Percy didn't have to play it. He could have. I'm just saying. So if they don't want to do it, if you don't want to play special teams in college football, take your jersey off, man, for real. Because I just don't understand. I mean, I thought Ron Zook told me one time, I'm gonna put you at gunner. What? I'm gonna put you at gunner. He said you better be the first guy down there. If he would have put me, now I'm not faster than none of them gunners. But if he would have put me out there, I'm gonna get down there. It's gonna get ugly. And I might not see. I might hit the guy even with the fair catch because I'm running. I don't see all this. I don't see none of that. But no, Loren, I'm with you. I don't think players understand that when the special teams coach going to bat for you, boy, you got a spot every Saturday. You're gonna play every single Saturday, and it gets you on the field, man. Because I don't think people understand how hard it is to get out there on Saturday. Like it ain't but so many opportunities. And 6 of them don't come off the field. That would be your starting 5 offensive linemen and your quarterback. They playing every snap. So if you're saying what's the young defensive end we got? I think he out of Jacksonville, the bowl school. He was running down on number. I think he played defensive end. He's running down on kickoff before he got hurt. Hey man, Bobby McCray, that went on to win the Super Bowl with the New Orleans Saints. That boy was that number 5'7" with that cowboy with that visor on, trying to look with them Jordan cleats. That boy had on Jordan cleats well before Jordan ever had them for real. Running down on kickoff, running down on punch. So hey man, I have no sympathy. I have no sympathy. You don't want to play special teams. You're not a football player. I'm just saying you don't. So Taysom Hill for the New Orleans Saints is what the Jets envisioned with Tim Tebow when he went to the Jets. They wanted him to do all that. But Tim Tebow found out something real quick. 1, he can't do that. And 2, he sure as hell can't play tight end. He cannot. I love Tebow, but when he went to Jacksonville, he's going to move to tight end. That's disrespectful. What? So Travis Kelce going to play quarterback if Patrick Mahomes get hurt? No. Stop playing with me. Come on, man.
I love the discussion. I love the passion Ben brings to that discussion about special teams. And speaking of passion, it's the most passionate time of the year for basketball fans. In a couple of hours here, it's going to be March. And although we have some March Madness in football waiting for the spring game and all the changes to come into play, really it's hoop du jour. Right now, Franz Beard is a happy camper over there about what's going on with this basketball team. We're going to let everybody get a say on this. Final Four material or not, we'll talk about it. But first, I'm going to tell you about Titan MRI, and then we're going to let Loren lead off the discussion. You got about a minute and a half to talk about basketball team realistic expectations, what you really like the most and what you don't like, all right? But first, Titan MRI, North Central Florida's newest premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. The site lets you know Titan MRI is now open and serving the greater Gainesville and North Central Florida area. They're focused on you, the patient, having great customer service, and they know most people lead a busy life and have regular business hours for you, but sometimes you need a little something different. And they can help do that for you, giving you make appointments in evenings and weekends to accommodate your schedule, to meet your scheduling needs. Their MRI equipment is modern, and the MRI unit has one of the largest bores. And why is that important? That's the opening, if you ever had an MRI, of any of the newer high-strength MRI units. At 71 centimeters, allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients who generally cannot tolerate smaller closed units. So patients previously having experienced an MRI scan have commented they don't like the noise. They love the music, at Titan MRI. So check them out. They're available. You can call them up, schedule it, have same-day service. No insurance, no problem. Take card or cash. TitanMRI.com. Well, here we are. March is upon us. It's time to see how real this basketball team is. And I think we'd be lying if we didn't say we were really pleasantly surprised, except perhaps for friends who kind of saw this all coming. Loren, real or not real, how far could this basketball team go?
Really far. To say Final Four, you don't know. I mean, second weekend of the tournament, absolutely. which means you got a chance to go to the Final Four. I would be shocked if this team does not make the Sweet 16. But to go a step further, I was at the Gator Tip-Off Club meeting last night. A friend of ours invited my wife and I, and Torian Green was one of the speakers. And I think an interesting thing, obviously we talked about the guard play and how guards can take you in the tournament. Obviously, we saw what Samuel did last night, as well as Micah Handglagen. But the most interesting thing he said, and for fans of the 04s and the back-to-back national championships, somebody asked him or made a remark about how close that basketball team was. And Torian Green, without batting an eyelash, said, this team is almost there. So it's a very close-knit team. They like to play with one another. They enjoy playing for each other. Torian Green said that, the practices are spirited. Not a lot of fouls called, which means it's a tough basketball team, and I think they've shown that. And they're battle-tested. They've played in some hostile environments. So, it's definitely a second weekend team. I think a good sign was last night. The game got a little tight. Walter Clayton kind of got his fifth foul was I don't know what that ref, and Franz could talk about. He might know that ref. It's probably one of the worst refs I've seen this season. Little short black dude that was out there. I don't know his name, but he was driving.
James Breeding.
Yeah, but Riley Kugel being out on the floor at late in the game, playing good defense, playing his role.
Good to see.
I think Riley is gonna be the X factor to where this team can go, but a second weekend team for sure. And if you get to the second weekend, you win 2, and now you're in the Final Four. So I think I kind of look at it in stages. You get the first one. It's kind of like Jim Valvano, survive in advance. You get the first one, you get the second one, you get another week to prepare, you get the third one, you get the fourth one, and now you're in the Final Four. So, I think that, but they're definitely a second weekend team.
Sounds easy there, Coach Troupe.
I would be shocked if they're not a second weekend team.
What do you think, Ben? You're muted, Ben.
My fault. I said I agree with Loren. I think the thing about this Florida team is, even with the guard play, it's going to come down to, but how do they finish? Because Florida's one of those type teams, man. They could blow a big lead. They could come back from a big lead. It's like everybody wants to, quote, peak at the right time. But I like their mentality, though. Coach Golden is making – I just like his approach, man. I remember when he first got hired, people saying, can he – with Florida, it's always, can you get back to? I don't think it's about getting back to. Back-to-back in basketball is one of the hardest things to do. I know Florida's the last team to do it. But to make the tournament – that's prestigious. And I remember the days, unfortunately, he would go unnamed. He's at another school, in the SEC. When I say his name, it's too many scratch and claw years. With these Florida teams of old, it was so much of what could have been, what should have been, what didn't happen. Mm-hmm. Now, 20 wins. 20 wins in SEC basketball these days, you had an incredible year. When you look at the play around the SEC. So I agree with Loren. Second week, it depends. I see us being a 6th, 7th, or, an 8th seed. But, I just think that with this Florida squad, though, I think everything you need in basketball, they got it. They got size. They got backcourt. They can rebound. They can obviously shoot the three. They can get up and down the floor. It's, can you keep the momentum if you snatch it? And can you snatch it back if you lose it? I think they got the recipe of a really, really good squad. Because, listen, let me say that they are not no Cinderella. They will never be no freaking Cinderella. But I think they make it to the second weekend. They become one of the most dangerous teams left in the tournament because, like I said, the SEC basketball is not ACC, and nothing is. I get that. But when you look at the way Florida has been playing as of late, it's like you said, I think you said on a previous show, Francis, how they finished down the stretch. They got some good momentum, going into March, man. I agree. If they make it, when they make it to the second weekend, look out, people, because like I say, number one seeds beware, because all the pressure is on the number in the tournament. All the pressure is on the number one seed anyway.
All right, well done. And before I hand it off to you, Franz, I'm going to say one thing. I put in the plug for my bigs. We talk about Clayton and Pullen, and we should. 2 fine guards. We all know that that's the pathway to advance in March. But I want to say as good a guards as they are, and they are as good a tandem as there is. I think they got some bigs. We saw last night in the situation what Samuels could do. And I got these guys, Samuels, Handgloten, Condon, and Huff. Sounds like a dadgum law firm to me. I'm going to call them the firm. They're pretty good at that. So they're not just a team with good guards. They got other talent. Franz, talk about it.
Well, let me first start out by saying one thing. If you get to the Sweet 16, you've accomplished something. As Billy Donovan used to point out time and time again, it's not necessarily the best team in the country that's going to win the national championship. It's the team that goes 6-0. You look at Florida's first year there, everybody thought UConn, North Carolina, and Duke were going to win it. They never got out of the Sweet 16 weekend. They all three lost. George Mason ends up winning. LSU beats Duke. My buddy John Brady got the Dookies, and I love every second of it. George Mason got UConn. I forget. Let's see. UCLA came out of the regional with Memphis and North Carolina. There's some luck that's involved. Getting to the Sweet 16 is the skill part. After that, you better be good, but you better have some luck of the draw included going with you to get that far. Florida can get to the Sweet 16. After that, you got a bunch of factors going, such as if Florida, for example, ends up as a 5 seed, you're going to play the number 4 seed team in the second round. Okay. Ooh, you think about that. You start out at 5, you're a 5-12. That's always a dangerous game, but guess who you get the second round? You get the number 4. If you're a 6 seed, who you get the second round? You get the number 3. So you can get a lot of bad matchups and things like that in that second round. Florida's good enough to get there to that second round. After that, then here's what I think factors in. Florida is 9 deep. Okay. You got 4 big guys. You got 20 fouls that are 6'9" or better. As my friend Larry Vittel pointed out, he says, have you ever seen a team with more white big guys in Florida that wasn't in the Ivy League? And I had to laugh about that, and they they'd be 4 out of 5 if Shimsick didn't have surgery on his foot. And they're picking up a 7'7" kid from France next year. I mean, it's amazing, what's going on with this team and how he's recruited it. But he's got it's like the team with, Tyrese Samuel pointed out the other day. He said, our big guys are like the team within a team. We're so close.
Mm-hmm.
These
and you
young
could tell.
guys
You could tell it too how they play. Yeah, they play together.
These young guys keep coming to Tyrese and saying, okay, what do I do if this guy does this? What do I do if this guy does that? So he's getting in his assistant coach practice now. He's going to be a terrific coach someday. I hope, I don't know that he's going to be a coach, but if he decides to be one, we're seeing what a good assistant coach he can be this year by the way he's working with these young guys. And speaking of assistant coaches, Carlin Hartman, the big guy coach for the Gators. He played at Tulane, terrific assistant coach. Came here to be with him, and he's working with the big guys. You look at the improvement.
Boy, last year. He's doing a heck of a job. I mean, really.
Look at what Colin Castleton was doing last year before he got hurt. Look at what these 4 big guys are doing now. But they're the team within a team. They've got 20 fouls to give. Let me throw one thing at you real quick.
Before we got about 60 seconds. Go.
Did you see with a minute left, he puts Thomas Hogg in the game, and Hogg goes in there and hustles and runs down from behind, gets a steal, preserves a possession there, then gets a block shot on top of it. This is a kid that played 11 minutes and he's playing like this, and they put him on the floor at critical times. The young guys will play at critical moments. That's a sign that you got a coach that trusts your guys. And here's the other thing. Look at how hard these guys play for Todd Golden. They play, I mean, there is no question at all that these guys will give everything they have within their body and their mind and their heart and their soul for this coach and this coaching staff. They love this guy. And a team like that has this kind of passion for the guy who ultimately makes the decision and leads them, those are dangerous, dangerous teams once you get to the postseason.
Yeah.
Florida is not mathematically out of the SEC championship race.
Mm-hmm.
I think they win. I think they're going to win minimum 2 of their last 3, get to 12 wins. I predict they're going to get a bye. I think they're going to be one of the teams that gets that 4-team bye. That means the double bye. They don't play till Friday, and if they do that, look out, guys.
All right, great stuff, Franz. And by the way, you've been right. Hold on one second.
Oh, sorry.
I just want to say to Franz, he's been spot on about this team, Loren. He's been telling us about it. He's been right on everything he said. Loren, go ahead. Final thought.
What was that ref's name, Franz? The little dude last night?
Oh, James Breeding. He was terrible.
Oh.
Pat Adams was the head official, okay? And Pat, let me tell you about Pat. Put him with 2 good officials and he'll call a good game. Put Pat Adams with 2 bad ones, which Vladimir the Russian guy, and James Breeding are. You put him with those 2 guys, and he is a lost ball in the tall grass. He might as well be buried. He might as well be buried at the bottom of Rays Creek in Augusta National.
Okay.
You
got him all stirred up now, Lauren. We got another 30 minutes to do. So.
I knew I couldn't get to him last night.
Yeah.
I saw him, but it was crowded last night. So I wanted to holler at him, but I missed him, so I had to get him.
All right, guys, great stuff. I got to go to bed. I got to get up and do my lawn tomorrow morning, wash the dishes, clean the house, make breakfast for my wife. None of that's true, by the way, just so you know.
Put another log on the fire. Cook me up some bacon and some beans.
Yeah. All right, guys, great stuff tonight. Appreciate it, all of you. Thank you very much.
Yes,
the great
sir.
Franz Beard, Ben Troupe, and Loren Meadows coming to you tonight on the program. Always glad to have those dudes on. Where do you get stuff like that, man? You just don't get it anywhere else. All right, well, we'll wrap it up by saying thanks to our friends at Renstar Medical Research. They do such great work. They want to say to you how much they appreciate you being involved with their clinical trials. They're the key to everything. They bring new therapies to the public safely, and clinical trials would not exist without the commitment of the volunteers. If you decide to participate in this at Renstar, you can receive study-related medications and procedures at no cost to you or your insurance company. You may gain access to new investigational medications or devices that are not otherwise available and receive compensation for your time and travel. How to find out about it, go to renstar.net. They'll give you information, see if you qualify. The research is dedicated to bringing new opportunities to participate in medical science to our local community. And an important part of that is helping to answer questions about volunteering for a clinical trial. So please do so. Renstar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. Thanks so much to our team tonight. Great stuff from Ben Troupe, Franz Beard, Loren Meadows. We're off for a couple of days. Don't forget to watch SEC Sidelines, with Brendan Martin and Rob Brown every day right here on this channel. Good night, everybody.